Every great story begins in the dark.
The documents were on the nightstand. Yuna remembered that the second her car turned onto the private road, and she pressed the accelerator harder than she meant to. She left the engine running in the circular driveway. She didn't wait for anyone to open the door for her. She pushed through the front entrance, heels striking the marble floor in short, urgent clicks, and took the staircase 2 steps at a time. If you're new here, hit subscribe before this story pulls you in, because once Yuna opens that door, everything she thought she knew about her marriage starts coming apart. She reached the top of the stairs, turned down the hallway, and put her hand on the handle of the master bedroom door. She pushed it open. For a full second, her brain refused to process what her eyes were showing her. Tae-Hyun stood near the window, and Amara was in his arms, her face tilted up to his mouth against hers. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't clumsy. It was the kind of kiss that belonged to 2 people who had done this before. Amara saw her first. Her whole body went rigid, and a small sound escaped her throat. Tae-Hyun turned. His eyes found Yuna's, and something raw and afraid moved across his face. A man searching a room for an exit that didn't exist. Nobody spoke. Yuna's hand was still on the door handle. She looked at her husband. She looked at the young woman she had hired 11 months earlier to run her household. Her lips parted slightly, as if a word were forming, but nothing came out. She let go of the handle. She turned around and walked back down the hallway, her footsteps slow, measured, as though she were counting them. She didn't run. She didn't cry out. She simply walked, and behind her the room stayed silent because neither Tae-Hyun nor Amara knew what to say to a silence like that. 11 months earlier, none of this had a shape yet.
I can't keep doing all of this myself. Mrs. Park is retiring at the end of the month. I need someone who can actually run this place.
Hire someone then.
I've interviewed 4 people. None of them are right. I need someone reliable. Someone who won't quit after 2 weeks.
I know someone. She needs the work. She's hardworking, capable.
Capable. Where do you know her from?
Through some people I've done business with. She's good, Yuna. Trust me.
I don't love the idea of bringing a stranger into our home just because you vouch for her.
Meet her first. If you don't like her, don't hire her. That's simple.
Fine. Since it's from you, let's try.
Yuna sat across from Tae-Hyun at the kitchen island, a cup of tea going cold between her hands, a legal pad in front of her covered in her small, neat handwriting. "I can't keep doing all of this myself," she said. "The house is too big. Mrs. Park is retiring at the end of the month. I need someone who can actually run this place." Tae-Hyun didn't look up from his phone right away. "Hire someone then." "I've interviewed 4 people. None of them are right." She tapped her pen against the pad. "I need someone reliable, someone who won't quit after 2 weeks because the job is harder than they expected." He set the phone down. "I know someone." Yuna raised an eyebrow. "You know a housekeeper?" "I know someone who needs the work. She's hardworking, capable. She won't waste your time." "Where do you know her from?" "Through some people I've done business with," he said. "She's good, Yuna. Trust me on this one." Yuna studied him a moment. "I don't love the idea of bringing a stranger into our home just because you vouch for her. Meet her first. If you don't like her, don't hire her. That's simple." She exhaled, half a laugh. "Fine, since it's from you, let's try." Amara arrived on a Tuesday morning in a gray blazer that was slightly too formal for housework, carrying a single folder with 2 references inside it. She was 22, hair pulled back in a low bun, standing in the foyer with the kind of stillness people have when they're working hard to look calm. "You must be Amara." "Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the opportunity." "Tae-Hyun says good things about you." "He's very kind," Amara said, and her eyes flicked, just briefly, toward the man standing a few feet away with his hands in his pockets. "He's also very particular," Yuna said, "so if he's vouching for you, I'm inclined to believe him." She held out her hand. "Let's start with a tour. I'll show you what needs managing and we'll go from there." Amara shook her hand. Her grip was firm. "I won't disappoint you." Tae-Hyun watched the 2 of them walk off toward the kitchen. He didn't move for a long moment. Then he went upstairs, alone, and stood in the master bedroom with the door closed. The first weeks were unremarkable, which was exactly what Yuna wanted. Amara was in the kitchen before 6, coffee already brewing by the time Yuna came down. She learned within days that Yuna took her tea with honey, not sugar, and that Tae-Hyun liked the newspaper folded a particular way, though he rarely read it. She learned which rooms needed to be spotless for guests and which ones nobody entered. By the second week, she knew the names of both groundskeepers and the driver and greeted all three by name every morning. Yuna noticed. Of course she noticed. "You didn't tell me she was this good," Yuna said one evening, setting her wine glass down while Amara wiped the stove in the next room. Tae-Hyun didn't look up from the report in his hands. "I told you. You told me she was hardworking. You didn't tell me she'd have this place running like clockwork in 2 weeks." Yuna shook her head, almost amused. "So it's true, what you told me. She's hardworking. I really love her already, honestly. This is exactly what I needed." "I'm glad," Tae-Hyun said, and something in his voice sat lower than the words required, though Yuna didn't catch it. By the second month, Yuna had stopped thinking of Amara as an employee and started thinking of her as something closer to a friend. She began finding reasons to talk to her that had nothing to do with the house. "Do you have people here? Family?" Yuna asked one afternoon, folding linens together, which she didn't need to do but did anyway. "My mother," Amara said. "She's not far, about 40 minutes. "Just your mother?" "For the most part," Amara said, and her hands paused on the sheet for a beat before she kept folding. Yuna didn't push. "Well, if you ever need time to see her, just tell me. I'm not going to be the kind of employer who works you into the ground." "Thank you," Amara said. "Not everyone would say that." "I know what it's like to work for people who don't see you as a person," Yuna said. "I don't want to be that." What Yuna never saw was the version of the house that existed after she left each morning. Tae-Hyun sometimes lingered, telling her he had calls to take from home. On those mornings, the house changed shape. Amara stopped performing the careful, professional version of herself. "You're playing a dangerous game," Amara told him one such morning, arms crossed, though there was no real anger in it. "Having me here, in her house. You needed the work. That's not why you brought me here, and you know it. Say it." He crossed the kitchen and stood close enough that she had to tilt her head back to look at him. "I couldn't stay away from you. 3 years of trying, and I still can't." "You married her." "I married her," he agreed, no defense in his voice. "That doesn't change what you are to me." Amara looked away first. "This isn't fair to her. She has no idea who I am to you. She has no idea about the twins." "I know." "That's not an answer." "I don't have a better one," he said quietly, and reached for her hand, and she let him take it, because whatever this was between them had never once been simple, not in 3 years, not since long before Yuna's name had ever entered either of their lives. 40 minutes away, in a modest house with a small fenced yard, 2 5-year-olds were finishing breakfast while their grandmother packed lunches. "Mommy's coming today," the boy asked, syrup on his chin. "Mommy has to work," the grandmother said, wiping his face. "She always says that," the girl said. The grandmother glanced at a photograph on the refrigerator, Amara at 20, younger, holding the twins as infants, a man's shoulder just visible at the edge of the frame, cropped so only his sleeve showed. She'd cropped it herself years ago and never told Amara she still kept it. "She loves you both more than anything in this world," she said. "Don't ever doubt that. And one day, when you're a little older, there's a lot she's going to want to tell you both, about your father. It's not a simple story, but it's coming." The girl nodded, satisfied for now, and went back to her cereal, not old enough yet to ask the harder question, why the story needed to wait at all. If you're feeling this story already, drop a comment and tell me what you think Amara's connection to Tae-Hyun really is, because the pieces are already there if you're paying attention. The months moved the way months do, when nobody's watching the calendar closely. Yuna began talking about Amara's future with real conviction. "You're too smart to spend your whole life doing this kind of work," she told her one evening on the terrace, Tae-Hyun away at a meeting. Have you ever thought about school? Business, maybe? You have an instinct for organization I don't see very often. Amara wrapped both hands around her mug. I think about it. There's just a lot standing in the way. Like what? Money, the twins, making sure they're taken care of before I think about myself. Amara said it plainly, and it was, at least, true as far as it went. I could help with tuition, a schedule that works around classes. Yuna leaned forward. I'm not offering out of pity, Amara. I think you're wasting potential, and it would genuinely bother me to watch that happen when I could do something about it. Something crossed Amara's face, not quite guilt, but close to it, gone almost as soon as it appeared. Thank you, she said. I mean that, I'll think about it. Take your time, Yuna said and squeezed her hand. Winter came, and with it, a folder of receipts Amara left on the counter, a child's crayon drawing tucked inside, a sun, 2 stick figures, Mommy written in shaky letters. I didn't know you had children, Yuna said when Amara came back for the folder, a little flustered. Twins. They live with my mother right now. It's easier with my hours. You should have told me. I would have made accommodations for you to see them more. It's not something I like to talk about, Amara said, an edge in her voice. Of course, Yuna said, backing off. I'm sorry for prying. That night alone, Yuna found herself thinking about it, not suspicious, just curious. Twins. No father ever mentioned. She wondered briefly if the father was simply gone the way fathers sometimes were, and decided it wasn't her business to ask twice and let it go. This is the part where things start moving fast, so if you don't want to lose your place, tap that like button now, because the story is about to start giving you real pieces of the truth. In February, Amara took the twins for a rare overnight at her mother's, and was tucking them in when her daughter asked, Do we have a dad? Amara's hands stilled on the blanket. You do. He has a very big, complicated job. It keeps him away a lot. Does he know about us? He knows, Amara said. He's known since before you were born. It's grown-up things kept us apart for a while. One day I'll explain it properly. I promise. Her daughter accepted the half-answer, the way children do when sleep is pulling harder than curiosity, and Amara sat there a long while after, thinking about a man 40 minutes away, asleep in a house with another woman's name on the deed. Tae-Hyun found Amara in the garden shed one evening, ostensibly organizing tools. She offered to pay for their school, Amara said the moment he stepped in. She still doesn't know they're yours. Do you understand what it is to take that kind of kindness from her, every day knowing what I know? You think this doesn't cost me anything? His voice stayed low, controlled. I see my own children 40 minutes away like a stranger dropping by. I watch my wife plan a future for the mother of my kids, and I can't say a word. I live inside a lie I built myself, every single day. Then end it, one way or another. This can't keep going the way it's going. I know it can't, he said. I've known that for months. Neither of them moved to end anything that night. The house kept running exactly as it had. Tae-Hyun's father summoned him to the family estate that same month. You've grown careless, the old man said, seated behind a desk that had belonged to his own father. A man in your position keeps his private matters private. You've let this become something the household staff whisper about. I don't know what you've heard. I've heard enough to know you brought her into your wife's house. His father's voice didn't rise. It never needed to. 3 years, and you still haven't settled what you started with that girl before your wedding. I warned you, when you told me about the mix-up with the paperwork before your engagement, that leaving something unfinished always costs more later than finishing it does. Tae-Hyun's jaw tightened. That mix-up wasn't something I could control. No, his father agreed, but how you handled what came after it was entirely something you controlled, and you handled it badly. He leaned back. The children. Are you going to claim them or hide them until they're old enough to hate you for it? Tae-Hyun didn't answer right away, and his father's expression hardened into something like disappointment, which was worse, in its way, than anger. By March, Yuna had begun drafting an actual business proposal for Amara event coordination, seed funding, a real plan with numbers attached. She wanted it to be a surprise, something to present properly. She never got the chance. The morning it happened, nothing warned her. Yuna left for the office at her normal time. A lunch with the events committee ran long. It was there she remembered the venue contracts, still sitting on the nightstand where she'd left them the night before. She excused herself, texted her assistant, and drove home, thinking about nothing more than traffic and Table 12's seafood allergy. She had no idea what she was about to walk into. And that brings us back to where we started, the door swinging open on the kiss that would end the life Yuna believed she was living. She sat in the driveway afterward, engine off, for 11 minutes, then drove for almost 2 hours without any real destination, until the tank ran low and she finally turned around. Inside, Amara backed away from Tae-Hyun the moment the door closed. She saw us. "I know. What do we do now?" "I don't know yet," he admitted, and for once it seemed to be the honest truth rather than an evasion. "But I know I can't keep doing what I've been doing, not after this." "You've said that before." "This time she knows," he said. "There's nothing left to protect by staying quiet." Yuna didn't come home that night. She checked into a hotel and sat by the window until morning, replaying the last 11 months, the drawing with Mommy on it, the twins 40 minutes away, a father Amara had never once named, the strange weight in Tae-Hyun's voice the night she'd said she loved having Amara in the house. Her phone rang 11 times. She let it ring 11 times. The 12th time she answered. "Yuna, please let me explain." "I'm listening," she said, surprising even herself. "But I want the truth, not a version of it. How long, Tae-Hyun?" He was quiet for a moment. 3 years before you. I met her 3 years before I ever met you." Yuna closed her eyes. "The twins." "Mine," he said. "I should have told you before we married. I told myself it was finished. It wasn't." "Then why did you marry me at all?" "Because what I felt for you was real. It still is. That's never been a lie, even if everything around it was." His voice broke slightly. "There was a misunderstanding. Before you and I met, paperwork that never went through, a lawyer's mistake that made it look like Amara had walked away from me when she hadn't. By the time it was untangled, I'd already met you, and I told myself the timing meant something. I told myself I could close that door. I didn't close it. I just got better at hiding that it was still open." Yuna sat with that for a long moment. "I need you to leave me alone tonight," she finally said. "Not forever, tonight." And she hung up, and for the first time since the hallway, she cried. If this story has you holding your breath, make sure you're subscribed, because Yuna isn't finished asking questions, and this time, she's going to get real answers. She went back 2 days later. Amara wasn't there. Tae-Hyun had told her to take the week. "How generous of you," Yuna said, setting her bag down. "Room to think. Is that what the two of you need?" "Yuna, I already know the shape of it, Tae-Hyun. 3 years. The twins. A mix-up with paperwork you're using like an excuse. What I don't know is why you let me spend 11 months growing to love a woman who was raising your children 40 minutes from where I slept every night. I never meant for you two to grow close. I thought I could keep it contained." "You thought wrong," Yuna said, "and you don't get to be surprised that containing a lie for 3 years eventually stops working." She sat down at the island, the same island where he'd first told her "I know someone," and folded her hands. "Tell me about the misunderstanding, all of it. I want to hear the whole thing, start to finish, no more pieces." And for the first time, he did. The engagement he and Amara had quietly planned before his father's business rivals leaked false information that made it look like Amara had taken money to disappear. The humiliation that drove her away before either of them could untangle the lie. The marriage to Yuna that followed less than a year later, arranged partly by his father, accepted partly out of grief. The twins born within that same year, a fact he learned only after they married, when Amara resurfaced needing help, and he couldn't make himself walk away twice. It didn't make what he'd done right. Yuna told him so, plainly, when he finished. But it was, finally, a whole story instead of a locked door, and something in her sat differently once she'd heard it, not forgiveness, but the ability to finally see the shape of what she was actually deciding whether to forgive. Amara came back on a gray Thursday to collect her things, expecting the house to be empty. She found Yuna at the kitchen island instead. "Sit down," Yuna said. It wasn't a request. Amara sat. "He told me everything. The mix-up, the 3 years, the twins." Yuna's voice was steady. "I want to hear it from you too, not because I doubt him, because you owe me that much after everything I offered you." Amara's eyes filled. "I loved him before I ever knew you existed. I'm not going to apologize for that part. It happened before you, and I can't undo the order things happened in. What I can apologize for is staying quiet once I did know you. I could have refused this job. I could have told you the truth the day I found out how attached you were getting. I chose not to, because some selfish part of me wanted to keep this house, and keep him, and keep your friendship too, all at the same time, and I told myself I'd find a way to make that fair to everyone. There was never going to be a way to make that fair to everyone." "No," Yuna agreed quietly. "There wasn't." "I am sorry," Amara said. "Not the kind of sorry that fixes anything, just the true kind." Yuna studied her for a long moment. "The offer I made you, the business, the tuition, that was never about him. That was about you, and it still could be, someday, if you ever want it, on your own terms, with nothing hidden between us. Not today, maybe not for a long time. But I'm not going to pretend the person I got to know this year wasn't at least partly real, even now." Amara nodded, unable to speak for a moment. "Thank you," she finally managed, "for saying that when you have every right not to. We're getting close to the end now, and this is exactly the kind of story that deserves a comment. Tell me down below whether you think Yuna should ever forgive them, because what happens next isn't a clean answer either way." Spring turned into a season of consequences. Tae-Hyun's father made his position clear at a family dinner 2 months later, informing several relatives that the twins would be formally acknowledged, quietly, through the appropriate legal channels, whether or not it was comfortable for anyone at the table. "This family doesn't hide children," he said. "We've hidden enough already. That ends now." It wasn't an act of warmth. It was an act of discipline, and Tae-Hyun understood the difference, and accepted it anyway, because it was more than he'd managed to do on his own in 3 years. Yuna didn't file for divorce right away, and this time when people asked why, she had an answer, even if it wasn't a comfortable one. "I'm not staying because I've forgiven him," she told her sister. "I'm staying because I want to see if the man who finally told me the truth is someone I actually still recognize, or if the truth was the last honest thing he had in him." She moved into the guest wing herself, not him, and gave herself 6 months to decide, and told him exactly that, in exactly those words, so there would be no more unspoken things left in that house. Amara moved back in with her mother for good. "Are you staying now?" her daughter asked, climbing into her lap. "I'm staying," Amara said, and this time she meant something concrete by it. She turned down a live-in position 2 towns over, had enrolled in 2 night classes at the community college using money she'd saved herself, not Yuna's, because some things she needed to build without anyone's help. "And your dad is going to start coming around more. Properly. With his name on things. I know that's confusing, and I promise we'll explain it all as you get a little older, but it's real now. It's not a secret anymore." Her mother, listening from the hallway, allowed herself, for the first time in 3 years, something close to relief. Tae-Hyun drove out in early summer and sat in his car outside the fenced yard for nearly 10 minutes before he found the nerve to knock. Amara answered, arms crossed. "You should have called first." "I didn't know what I'd say if you told me not to come." "What are you here for, truly?" "To do it right this time. No more hiding, no more halfway. My father's already moved to formalize the paperwork, but that's not why I'm here. I'm here because I've spent 5 years being their father in secret, and I don't want to be that anymore. I want to actually be it in the open, whatever that costs me." Amara studied him a long moment, then stepped aside. "Their names are Minyu and Sora," she said. "If you're doing this, you do it right. No disappearing again. They've spent 5 years without a father 30 minutes down the road. That ends today, or you turn around now." He crouched down in the doorway to meet the children at their own height. Hi, he said. I'm your dad. I know that's strange to hear all at once, but I'd like to come in and get to know you both properly, if that's all right. It wasn't a grand reunion. It was small and awkward and real, the beginning any actual family gets instead of the clean, cinematic one stories usually promise. 6 months later, almost to the day, Yuna sat across from Tae-Hyun in the same kitchen where all of it had started. I've made a decision, she said. I know, he said quietly. I could feel it coming. I'm not staying married to you, she said, and watched something in his face brace, then settle as though he'd already made peace with it somewhere in the preceding months. But I'm not leaving angry either. You told me the truth when it mattered eventually. You claimed those children instead of hiding them forever. That matters, even if it doesn't change my answer. I understand. I don't forgive easily, Yuna said. But I don't think I hate you anymore, and 6 months ago I would have told you that was impossible. She stood, gathering her things. Take care of them, really. That's the part I actually care about now. Yuna kept the foundation. She kept the mentorship program, and a year later funded one particular scholarship. Anonymously, though Amara suspected, and never asked to confirm for a young single mother finishing a business degree at night. Amara finished her degree 18 months after that, opened a small event coordination company with 3 employees by her second year, and never once used Tae-Hyun's name to open a door for her, though she let the twins use his, proudly, at school, once they were finally old enough to understand what had taken so long to be simple. Tae-Hyun rebuilt something with his children slowly, the way real trust gets rebuilt, missed at first, then less missed, weekends becoming weekdays, a bedroom that was theirs whenever they wanted it instead of a stranger's guest room. Yuna never remarried, not right away, but she stopped, eventually, driving past the old house without feeling anything at all, which she counted, quietly, as its own kind of ending. Not a happy one exactly, but an honest one, which by then felt like more than she'd expected to get. If this story moved you, that was the whole point, real love, real mistakes and real consequences, the kind that don't resolve overnight but do, eventually, resolve. Make sure you're subscribed for the next one, drop a comment telling me whether you think Yuna made the right call, and give this video a like before you go. It helps stories like this reach the people who need to hear them.